Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Computex 2024. We are down here at the Cougar booth checking out some really exciting cases. A massive thank you, by the way, to Cougar for actually reaching out to sponsor this video. I'm so glad that they did, because the first thing we're looking at really is very different. I mean, a case at the show that stands out. How about that? The FV270 RGB. And I think it's quite obvious what we've got going on here. It's like a mix of a load of different cases. Yeah, it has a real premium look and feel to it. And you've got this curved glass around the front. And then you've got this 120mm fan with this plastic shrouding that actually helps channel the air up into the main chamber. And because you've got a very large gap up here, it's going to be really good for airflow, especially if you've got like a really large graphics card using loads of power. And because there's also so much space inside this thing as well, I imagine if the next generation of graphics cards are even bigger, you're going to be able to fit this fairly easy inside it. I mean, we've had a bit of an argument, actually, cameraman Gareth and myself, over the shape. I say it's like a pentagon, and he says it's a trapezoid. We don't actually know what it is. Let us know down in the comment section below. But if you look at the right-hand side here as well, you can see we've actually got our ventilation, but it's not just like a rectangle case. That's the point. It's not just a box. It's actually got a little bit more shape to it, a little bit more interest, which is pretty cool. We move around to this side because we've got the black version of the case as well, and you can see what it looks like in its like empty formation. For clarity, I will say that you don't actually get these 3 fans included at the top. Those are the new fans that we show you in just a second. They daisy chain together, but you do get the 120 underneath here, and the rest of them will fit 140s, by the way. So it's a 120 down the bottom, and then the rest are 140mm fan slots. And I'm going to try and open this up, which is always difficult when you have one mic, but it is so loud in here. The other options are not optimal. I really like how easy it is to take the side panels off, clicks off just like that. Feels really nice and premium as well. This is obviously a luxury case. It's one of their flagships, so you certainly would expect that. And something else I appreciate as well is that there's loads of room inside here if you want to use, well, any sort of RGB fan hub, or if you have loads of SSDs and things. You can even put them where your power supply would normally go. You've got like a little mounting bracket here, but any of those hubs and things that you're usually going to put in here. And it does also support the new standard, of course, from MSI Project Zero, ASUS, BTF, and the upcoming like gigabyte standard that they're going to be releasing. So it'll be quite cool to actually get a build done in this. But my unit is at home right now. I think I've gone for it in white. So get subscribed if you want to see us build that on the channel. So yes, that is the FV270 RGB. There is an optional accessory that I want to show you because it's pretty wild. I think you guys are really going to like it. It's not going to be to everyone's taste, but it's pretty cool. Because when I show you the mock-up that they've got here, that's actually fully assembled with this black, you can see there's this figure spinning. And don't worry, it's not the figure that's the optional accessory, but if you want this turntable, you can actually get that. Obviously, it does block off the fan, so you're not going to be getting any extra airflow in for your graphics card. Still have the ones at the side, but if you've got something, maybe you'll 3D print something, I don't know, if you've got something you want to put in there, you can actually do it and show it off inside your PC. And I've not really seen many rigs that will be able to do this in a really cool way. Like, fight me in the comments if you don't like that. I think that's a pretty cool way of doing something new. But if you've got sufficient airflow anyway, I don't know. I'll also say in terms of pricing, there's a couple of versions of this. You can buy the base one with just the one single 120 for $179.99 in USD, or step up to $199 if you want 3 additional fans. So that is the FV270 RGB. But they do also have some other cases here as well. This one is the Airface Eco RGB. And this is the one that cameraman Gareth actually seems to quite like. He likes the look of the front. And this is coming from someone that has said most cases here, he's like, nah, I like the one I've got. So that's high praise. You've got a dust filter here that you can remove and take out, but obviously the star of the show is the front piece, and it comes in black or white. They've got this taken off to actually illustrate. And essentially what they were trying to do here is to have something that still looks pretty cool, pretty quirky, almost like solid-ish in terms of its appearance. And because you have these larger holes on the outside than you do on the inside, it means when you pair it with these 180mm fans, they're telling me that the fan speed will actually kind of like increase the airflow inside the case because the pressure is essentially increased, so it's faster on the inside. It's something I'm still trying to get my head around, and we'll be testing thermals, I think, on this when we get it in. But it's certainly a cool way of still maintaining like high airflow or high speed airflow without having to resort to something that's really open like this. It's an interesting concept, actually. And you do also have this I/O panel on the front as well, but if you'd rather move it because you've got your PC on your desk, that actually can like disconnect, and then you can put it down the side here as well. As for the inside of our Airface Eco, you can see it's a relatively open layout. I would say it's like safe to say that this is like more of a standard affair. There's not like any crazy standout feature here. It's just going to be a solid case to build in, really, which is what they've sort of gone for. You've got an ARGB hub down the bottom as well, so if you don't want to like daisy chain them all together really horribly unneatly, then that gives you a little bit extra flexibility, especially if you're using like a ARGB cooler or something like that. It can often get a little bit complicated. I like as well that there's plenty of space, again, for extra hubs and things. You'll still be able to get the side panel on without really much issue. But I've got to say that there's one case here that when you first see it, it's fair to say that it's not the most striking case, but this is actually my sort of dream chassis, really. I built one very similar to this last year because it's fairly understated, but this is all about compacting as much power as possible into something as small as possible without any compromise. Because I know you're thinking, oh, what about ITX rigs and all of these like really small cases and things? If you've got to compromise on TDP, then to me, that's not like a true non-compromise build. So the only thing about this that you're really going to have to go without is a full-size ATX board. This is called the MX600 Mini RGB. And as you can see, you can quite literally put anything inside this. And the ethos is all about having those high TDP components inside this. So if you do want to go for a 4090, maybe an upcoming 5090, an i9 CPU, you want to overclock it, you want to have a huge power supply, you can still do all of that without worrying about cooling. Because again, it's not just the physical limitations, right? And a lot of the heart of this actually comes from the fact that you've got a very large, wide opening on the front that actually comes with a 160mm fan as standard. I mean, you actually get two of these. They're RGB, so obviously you can sync them together. But for me, I just don't see the need to have like a gigantic build. It depends what you're wanting to do, obviously, but I've always liked to keep things as compact as possible, as I say, without compromising on cooling and things. And it does also support MSI's Project Zero ASUS BTF as well. So if you want to make something that's really nice, clean and tidy, while still going for micro ATX in that sort of form factor, then you can do it. And then also, probably the most understated thing here, but also equally as important, is this, which is the MX220 RGB, because this comes in at about $60 for what is still a very solidly built chassis and still one that kind of lets your hardware do the talking. I mean, it's all very well having like a crazy high-end case, but you still got to then buy all the components to actually put inside it, which obviously can rack up the price pretty quickly. But this is just nice. It's plain, it's simple, it's minimal, it's clean. For $60 as well, you do also get two USB-A and one USB-C, which I assure you is not something you actually see on a lot of cases costing this sort of price point. Again, sort of nice, like decent amount of depth here, again, for RGB hubs and things. We do actually get this little ARGB hub here as standard as well, because let's be honest, you're probably not going to be buying like those crazy high-end daisy chainable fans and putting it inside here. You're going to be creating something that's a little bit more inexpensive. So for $60, especially when you think like after a few months or so, you can usually find sales and deals and things, I think you better find this for probably nearer $50. So $50 for a case that's this well built is pretty impressive. But it's not just cases that can be a little bit more affordable, because I was blown away. That in itself is a joke. That wasn't planned. That's fantastic. Fantastic. I'm on a roll. But yes, anyway, these are the new coolers, and these are the Poseidon Ultra ARGBs. These actually improve upon the Poseidon Elites that they're going to still sell. These sit slightly like above them, but the pricing on these are still really, really impressive, because as we know, like 360mm coolers can get into literally like over £200, but you can actually get the 240 version for $99.99 in terms of USD, and then a mere $20 more will actually get you the 360 version. So if you want to access like high performance cooling for less money, I think that's really impressive. And they have, of course, like improved it as well, so you're going to get more performance. But one of the things as well that has caught my eye is actually the fans down the bottom. We've got a pair of daisy chainable fans, and this is pretty difficult to do with one hand. So we've got some great B-roll for you now, and they've actually let me have a play with them. And usually he said, oh, we give them to you, not to anyone else, because you know what you're doing. You're a professional. Have you watched my channel? And we do actually have two different types of fan on offer. We've got the SC140 ARGB and then the Apolar 120 ARGB. And both are going to have great performance, but this has been optimized, the Apolar, for essentially the best performance possible. One of the ways that they've done this is to actually get the fan blade to extend as close to the frame as possible, which obviously improves airflow, means that you get more performance for essentially the same power output, which is pretty cool. And interlocking them together is so easy. I mean, most people think you need like a magnetic fan to actually get this to work, but even just with these clips, it's strong enough really to be able to hold them together. You're not going to have to necessarily use all of the screws to get them in place, although obviously it's always recommended. But they still look fantastic, and I actually quite like the frames on these. They look a little bit more minimal. But if you want something that's got more RGB on it, then obviously you want to look at the SC140, because these are kind of reminiscent with all of the RGB and the infinite mirror of like kind of like the best bits of everyone's fans together. I really like it, and I think it's going to be, again, a more like accessible way to get into high quality RGB fans. So if you want to like deck out your rig with all of these case fans and make it look really pretty. Definitely a lot of stuff to build with here, but the question goes out to you guys. What was your favorite thing on offer here? Do you really like these fans? Those cases? I know obviously the flagship I think is the best looking, and we are going to do the build on that first. So let me know your thoughts on this down in the comment section below. Smash the like button if you've enjoyed this, and we'll see you in the next video.